Matt, you brought this story to my attention this week, and I was like, it's from 2017, and I was just finding out about it now. But goddamn, this story floored me. This comes courtesy of CNN. The headline is "How a Suicidal Pizza Man Found Himself Ensnared in an FBI Terrorist Net."
Yeah, this
And
is
like this story is so fucking terrifying. It says here, every day was the same for Khalil Abu Rayyan, 21, a depressed pizza delivery man from Dearborn Heights, Michigan. Working for a pizzeria in Detroit, he'd drive late nights on desolate inner city streets, smoking pot, hoping to keep boredom at bay. He carried a pistol to protect himself from robbers. Ryan wished that he could meet a girl, but his strict Muslim parents didn't allow him to date. He'd been troubled since the age of 12 when he was sent into counseling after telling his teacher he had a nightmare about bringing a gun to school and killing everyone in class. Tormented by bullies, he later got into fights that led to at least 3 suspensions. When he was 17, he started using marijuana. Okay, so like right off the bat, like in the first 2 paragraphs of this story, you have such a fucking just vivid and bone deep sense of just like absolute loneliness in America, and just like people who are just like that isolation and loneliness, and just feeling like that you were totally alone, and you're just like driving the streets of Michigan, just smoking pot to like, feel like, just like you said, keep boredom at bay, like make it just sort of okay that like nothing's going on in your life, and just feeling like you really want a girlfriend, you really want something, your parents like don't let you do anything, you're bullied mercilessly, and like this is exactly the kind of young man who the FBI takes special note of.
And not just that, not just like the incredible crushing loneliness. The thing that really like broke my heart about this is everyone from the time this guy was like a kid till now, anyone who is supposed to be looking after or like looking out for the best interests of people like him doesn't. Like he if you are like a mentally ill like person, you think maybe prone to like an outburst, it's like that's the right thing to do, right? If you have like a dream, you bring a gun to school. Isn't that should be the right thing to do? Be like, hey, I really don't want to do this. Something's going on with my brain that I don't fully understand. And it's just like instantly like, no, fuck you, freak. We're gonna ruin your life. It like impedes his ability to make friends, to do anything. But then he still like does what they tell you you're supposed to do. He like gets a job and pays his fucking taxes and like just tries to be a member of a world that will not accept him or accommodate him in any way, won't make it less painful or anything. And then the state, this massive entity that he's otherwise had, the only interactions he's had with it are like, being fucking locked down because he like told a teacher about something that he should have told them about, is this the most horrifying fucking thing.
So it talks about like in the midst of his like depression and total alienation, he started getting into ISIS videos and started posting like
whom amongst us, honestly.
very snick like like the ISIS snuff films online, and began like using the vernacular of like ISIS terrorists to describe himself, and just as a way to kind of, like I said, cut an image of himself as some sort of like fearsome, scary individual, or like just feel something.
Well, I mean, I get you shouldn't like get into ISIS and post ISIS shit,
No,
obviously.
yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, the reason you don't get into ISIS, the reason ideally that most Americans do not find these ideas attractive, is because they are a member of society, or they're a member of something larger than them that they are getting something out of. First of all, I don't think this guy would ever act on this. But second of all, like, how do you tell this guy, like, no, you're part of this project? No, you're not. No, he's fucking not. He's never been allowed to be a part of this. So, like, of course he does this, like, stupid, edgy shit online. He has nothing else.
He does this dumb edgelord shit, and then because it's America, of course, like, he gets a gun and begins posting photos of himself, like, holding a gun, because, like, it's just, like, I mean, join the fucking party. Like, that's half of what people fucking do in this country. But like the story gets worse here. It says about a week after Ryan posted the picture of the rifle, a woman named Gada contacted him on Twitter. She described herself as a Pakistani girl in Cleveland whose parents were pressuring her into an arranged marriage. Within days, Ryan and Gada were making wedding plans, even though they had yet to meet in person. She was Ryan's first girlfriend. I mean, goddamn, like this is, I mean, you know where this is going, but this is so brutal to read about. Like, he goes, while I was driving, I started to cry because I am happy to have you, Ryan wrote. Don't cry, my love, please, Gada replied. It is the tears of joy. I've never felt this way before. I wish I could give you a great big hug. You have no idea. I could just jump through this phone right now. I need you. You have me from our first tweet. Ryan told Gada that he and his father planned to visit her in Cleveland so that they could plan the wedding. And suddenly, Gada was gone. She stopped replying to his messages. She disappeared completely, and Ryan didn't know why. 2 days after Gada vanished, Ryan got a message from a young woman named Jana. She said she was a 19-year-old Sunni Muslim. Unlike Gada, Jana expressed no interest in a conventional romantic relationship. She said she wanted to martyr herself for ISIS, an act of vengeance against the coalition troops and Shia militants in Syria and Iraq who had killed her husband and 2 of her cousins. It's like I knew you my whole life, wrote Ryan. I will ask you to marry me, but not now. Please don't rush me, wrote Jana. I'm depressed and very scared. Jana said she dreamed of committing a suicide attack with Ryan as an expression of undying love. I'm not crazy, Khalil, Jana wrote. It is my imam, faith. It is what I believe. Jihad is my dream. Honestly, you need to think about what you want, Ryan wrote. I can't be in this game. Ryan wasn't that into the idea of violent jihad as an expression of spiritual love. He repeatedly told Jana that she should rethink her plans and marry him instead. They could be happy. They could start a family. Don't do anything that will hurt you, yourself, or other people, Ryan wrote. He later added, depression is real, but don't let it ruin your life. So
yeah, this guy, like, it's just everything is heartbreaking about it. And like, even though this guy's life has been fucking awful and he's gotten his heart broken in a billion different ways, he's still like, no, you like shouldn't do ISIS.
Yeah, exactly. Like even with his like dumb, like, you know, like pretending to be ISIS and doing the finger pointing and like, you know, posing with guns and shit and doing edgelord stuff. It's like when confronted with like what appeared to be the real deal, he was just like, I've been depressed too, but like that doesn't mean you should like kill yourself or other people. Like, you know, this is not. You shouldn't do that. Like we can be together. And
but at least, I mean, it sounds like she's kind of problematic. You know, these dreams of suicide bombing. But I think he might be able to fix her. How'd it go?
As Ryan tried to convince Jana that martyrdom was a foolish choice, he confessed to her that he had struggled with violent thoughts himself. He said he wanted to kill the cop who had pulled him over for speeding. He claimed falsely that there was a sword in his car. He blustered that he once had completed shooting up a church near his pizza shop, and he didn't intend to spare the women and children. So, like, weeks of desperate messages to Jana culminated with a foreboding phone conversation. Ryan told her that he had purchased a rope to hang himself. Only in like a minute or two, it'll be over, said Ryan. My family is going to be sad for a little while, but they'll get over it. Jana responded that the only proper way for Muslims to kill themselves is in an act of violent jihad. So, I mean, you could, like I said, like there's a lot more in this story, but like basically, both of the women he was conversing with were FBI agents.
Well, no, one of them was from an undisclosed agency.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the other one was from an FBI agency.
So like, yeah, like they catfished this poor depressed loner who was like, you know, dealing with like suicidal thoughts. And like I said, like this, a history of semi-unstable and like threatening, like, you know, a web presence. Right. But like as their relationship with the second woman like matures, the woman keeps demanding ever more stridently that he commit a mass shooting for her.
And if it's like he had bought the rope to kill himself, presumably he could be pushed over the edge of like committing a massacre where he then kills himself. And that's when you start to wonder, how many times has this fucking happened, and how many times has the person not been someone like this who still has some bearing about themselves and is like, no, I shouldn't like take others with me if I'm doing this or if I'm feeling this way. How many people have died for this?
I think there's so many people who hope that one day the government will start mandating, the government will start issuing girlfriends. That's a long-standing incel a demand, is government issued girlfriends. This is the actual government issued girlfriend program that you're going to get, no matter who's in charge. Your government issued girlfriend is going to be a guy in a windbreaker in Quantico catfishing you and convincing you to take a fucking anime sword into a Dave and Buster's. That is your government mandated girlfriend.
It just says here, like, and as the conversation, like she like the person he's talking with, begins to like just like really up the pressure on him to be like, if you love me, you'll do this, you know, like to just like goad him into like, you know, committing an act of mass violence on American soil. It says here, but like basically in the conversation, Ryan reiterated over and over again that he did not want to hurt anybody else. He was only interested in taking his own life. If I did it to myself, it would be easier, said Ryan. I wouldn't get in trouble. I'm not trying to get arrested again. 2 days after the call, Ryan got an unexpected visit. Federal agents arrested him for the possession of a firearm by an unlawful user of a controlled substance. Ryan didn't have a new pistol. He didn't have any guns. The firearm in question was the revolver that Detroit police had confiscated months earlier during the traffic stop. So after they failed to get this guy to do a mass shooting, they just arrest him on some fucking like ticky-tack fucking gun charge.
I guess it's like we waste. That's the penalty for wasting their motherfucking time.
Yeah.
We put in overtime on this shit.
And by waste their time, we don't even mean just like, oh, they would have arrested him as he gone out the door and been like, oh, we prevented it.
Oh yeah, they would have prevented it for sure.
Yeah. The amount of goading in this story, the amount of mass shootings where it comes out like a month later, the FBI is like, oh yeah, no, we knew about this guy. We knew everything about him. How many people have been goaded into this?
Yes.
How many?
There's one that we know for sure, which was the Texas Draw Muhammad contest, where an FBI agent was goading this dude into shooting the place up, texting "tear up Texas" to them, and then when this dude shows up at the hotel,
it was Pam Geller's.
It was like a La Quinta or something, and he's going to shoot up this contest, and he ends up getting into a shootout with some like cops and security guards. Instantly gets murked. Classic fail shooter move where you don't really know how the gun works and you immediately get neutralized. The FBI agent who had been in contact with him was fucking in the parking lot taking pictures of it right before it happened and got busted by the cops leaving the scene. We know that for a fact. Omar Mateen, his uncle, was like a person who the FBI was in contact with significantly.
He's the guy who did the Pulse nightclub shooting, which did kill like 50 people.
Yes. And of course, like the granddaddy is the Boston Marathon bomb.
Oh yeah,
where you have the fact that that Tamerlane Tsarnaev was most likely responsible for a triple murder that happened in Waltham, Massachusetts. The investigation for which was taken over by the FBI and then not followed up on.
And then after the bombing, their friend, who two FBI agents go to interview, they say that like he attacked them with a broomstick, and then he ended up with a bullet in the back of the head. In the back of the head.
And they instantly deported his wife to Russia.
So that she couldn't.
The FSB was like warning the FBI that these guys had gone and gotten training in Dagestan, and it was supposedly never got anywhere. And of course, the real topper is that to this day, the FBI has admitted that they do not believe and cannot, and it is not realistic to believe that the Tamerlanes actually made the bombs. They do not think that the Tsarnaevs made the bombs. They did not have the materials or the expertise to do it, but they don't know who did. According, they were like, yeah, somebody gave these guys some pressure cooked bombs.
Very similar to Timothy McVeigh, Oklahoma City.
Yes, exactly.
Because they were never able to prove that McVeigh built that bomb, or
and he was.
There certainly were other people involved in it.
There were absolutely more people involved in it.
100%.
That he was executed before he could, say what was going on here. But how many of those people were either undercover FBI agents or like fucking assets, right?
Yeah.
And like the example of the Draw Muhammad contest. That was a Draw Muhammad contest that put on by right-wing provocateur Pamela Geller, if I remember correctly. She was like one of those like anti-jihad activists, which is like, once again, sort of like similar to Gladio, like these fucking right-wing psychos, I think, are probably being juiced by or like actively working hand in glove with the government to provoke violent events like this.
It came out like the day after the Capitol riot, that like the head Proud Boy who was arrested the day before with just enough like rifle magazines to qualify as a crime in the district he was an FBI informant the whole time.
Yeah, for years.
Yeah.
For years. And then they were like right before the Capitol riot, which again, like he fomented as an FBI informant.
Yeah.
Or
and
not
which
even
was
like an
allowed
asset.
to happen.
It was allowed to happen.
The fucking half of those guards, half of those Capitol Police just like waved them through. And now today they get another $1.9 billion for the fucking Capitol Police, the DHS, and the National Guard to beef up Capitol security.
The Draw Muhammad, that shooting in Texas, and I like remember that happened, and like again, like basically, like I think he shot like a police officer, but like he just got killed.
Yeah.
Right. When the FBI agent who has been texting him, tear up Texas, like to show the unbelievers, that you mean business or whatever, was in the parking lot watching him walk into this event, presumably knowing full well that he was about to kill a bunch of innocent people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, at no point is it even suggested that the FBI was like, oh, yeah, we were just going to, like, snap him right back in right before he did this.
Right, yeah.
Like, they knew full well.
There's an FBI agent in the fucking parking lot when he went up there.
So that means that, like, as part of this FBI operation, like, the success of it was, like, a shitload of dead bodies, like, dead Americans, dead of a terrorist attack that they could have stopped at any moment.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, they are trying to do, they are committing terrorist atrocities.
Yeah.
And like the thing is, like, with this pizza delivery guy, like, as everyone said about this, like, if he had gone through with this mass shooting, would anyone know about this story whatsoever?
Yeah.
No.
Or would anyone question it whatsoever? And looking back on the last like 20 years or so of like from the war on terror, and probably from even before that, but like especially like post 9/11, I think you really have to ask yourself, you know, as we like confront like the specter of these like inexplicable like terrorist atrocities and mass shootings. I'm not even talking about the ones that are like explicitly linked to jihad or like religiously motivated like terrorism. I'm talking about like all mass shootings. Like, think about Stephen Paddock, and like I really don't know at this point like how anyone can say, I'm not saying, I think the majority of them are probably just
like we
Absolutely.
have the conditions in this country that are going to produce mass shootings. Like the things that Felix talked about, that sense of alienation, full alienation, young males who are before they have hit puberty have lost any hope that they can participate in anything
and
about
like have
themselves.
a girlfriend,
a girlfriend, even be able to build anything. They are alone forever, and that. When you have testosterone plus that amount of critical alienation and more guns than any other country in the world per capita, people are going to get popped off. And we don't have a war to send them to because we've privatized war, and we now just draft the people who are the poorest and most desperate. Meanwhile, those kids who are sitting at home are having that same need to like vent and create meaning through bloodshed, and they're going to do it. But it's also in the interests. There's no way to argue against this fact that it's in the interest of these institutions, the fucking FBI, the NSA, the political system that they're outgrowth of for this stuff to keep happening. Everyone that they thwart is a feather in someone's cap, gets them a promotion, gets them more budget. And everyone they don't stop is a justification for them to turn the cranks even harder.
And if you think this has any bearing, like who is president, who controls the House, who controls the Senate, it doesn't. Because if it's Republicans, you can do this to young Muslim men. If you're a Democrat now, you could say like, oh, there was going to be a right-wing attack.
Yep.
And just the same, it'll be an alienated guy who's never had a fucking girlfriend, never like really had a friend.
And they come in all colors. America just makes these people now.
Yeah. It's the only thing we make anymore.
Yes.
And I think like the common denominator to all these things is like there is nothing on earth, if like in terms of like killing a shitload of innocent American civilians, there is nothing on earth more dangerous than like an FBI asset.
Oh my God.
Which would mean that actually there's nothing more dangerous to your life and security than the FBI themselves. Like they are the ones who are plotting, and literally not just plotting to stop them or entrap people, but like literally plotting in the hopes that they will carry out a mass casualty attack on American lives.
They can thwart it, and good. Everyone gets a promotion. They can fail to thwart it, and good. It's more fear. It's more chum in the bucket. Either way, they don't have to worry. There's no negative. So they're not really incentivized to always do their best to make sure that they get in there before it happens.
And again, like as you said, Matt, like certainly in America, like I don't think you can assume that all of them are like some like Gladio style FBI operation, but like I mean, if you look at like the more you look into like most of these things, and again, I'd totally forgotten about that Draw Muhammad contest. You know, like it just fades into the background. That like the FBI is not just aware of the individuals behind the trigger, but like are actively like communicating with them, cultivating them as an asset before they do these like terrible killings. And it's whether it's like the Stephen Paddock thing or just like these increasing number of like terrifying mass casualty events that just absolutely baffle all reason. The Pulse nightclub shooting, like all this shit. It sort of goes back to like our last episode when we were talking about like this UFO like limited hangout shit, where it's just like it doesn't like. Part of the point of it is that people are like, this doesn't make sense. And like the thing is, like I think what they're like what is sort of going on here, whether it's like UFOs or these like inexplicable acts of like, you know, horror and atrocity, is I think like it creates like a destabilization of like metaphysically, existentially, like what you think is real and possible.
Yes.
and it's creating
Yeah.
like this very unstable feeling of like, so like questioning like the official story or narrative, like it doesn't really matter. Like that's actually good for them. They just want to create this intense sense of like destabilization and fear in the minds of everyone, and the idea that like you can't trust or know anything ever.
I also think that even if you don't believe that, even if you don't think that there's like in a room underneath the Pentagon, like how do we destabilize? I think that you can think of it this way then, is that they do all these things not as a direct ordering, I don't think. It's not like, okay, we're going to have a mass shooting here for X cause, we're going to use these guys. What they do is what the deep state has done ever since at the dawn of the American Empire after World War II, and what defined the Gladio operations. It was not some top-down bureaucratic operation. It was the United States government providing funding and protection for local criminal elements to do what they were going to do anyway.
Right.
And whatever they did, they knew would be to America's benefit. And the thing is, these are like one FBI agent might be setting up some poor mentally disabled Muslim kid because he really wants to get he wants to be the next special agent in charge of like the Sacramento office, and like he knows that if he gets a fucking scalp, he'll get it. But somebody else might be doing it because like they're cultivating a fucking whole network of right-wing psychos because like, oh, we got to know what they're doing, and also what they're doing helps us, and everybody's individual incentives within this structure resonate to create this sense of unreality that is also to the ultimate benefit of the system. So there's nothing to intervene with it and prevent it from happening.
The point of this, right, isn't that everything you see is literally pre-planned and scripted and like specifically designed to make you insane or to make you subservient. It's that everything is set up in a way that it benefits them and does not benefit
incentive
you.
Structures.
Yes.
It's about incentive structures throughout a system. All these systems, like we live in the United States, we're at the global headquarters of this global capitalist system that is heaving its last, that is in terminal crisis, and everyone within this system, in private sector, in public sector, regular schmucks like you and me, people in these agencies, whether or not they know about Moloch, whether or not they just think they're working in a bureaucracy, or they know what they actually are working for, like they've seen into the eyes of the fucking the Illuminati pyramid, all of them are incentivized in the direction towards self-interest, and that magnet pulls all those iron filings in one direction, and it is towards more control, the remedying of social conditions that are social crises that are caused by our underlying conditions, coming in the form of not in ameliorating them, because you can't, because the system creates them, but by punishing outliers. Oh, we're creating this mass of alienated people who are prone to antisocial behavior and violence. What are we going to do about it? Well, we're going to smash them with a fucking hammer.
But also, like in the general population, just create a feeling of just like of the boredom and loneliness that we're talking about being punctuated by these media framed like seeing on TV the punctuation of another terrifying act of mass murder.
No, it's like you're sitting alone in your head, because that's where you live. You don't really have you don't have anything like a social existence of most generations of humans to ever exist before you. What you do have is a media landscape that makes up the world for you. And if it's just people snapping and killing people, and like this awful smug monoculture, that's the happy face monoculture that says, actually, this is all good, and if there's any problems about it, you need to drink more water. This like psychotic optimism that's covering this obvious fraudulence, nihilism becomes very attractive. Nihilism becomes very attractive. Nihilism becomes very attractive. Nihilism